At one point in history, the city of Alliance, Ohio had 3 railroads passing through town. First was the Cleveland and Pittsburgh Railroad, running between Cleveland, Ohio and Rochester, Pennsylvania, followed a few years later by the Pittsburgh, Fort Wayne, and Chicago Railroad, which ran between, you guessed it, Pittsburgh, Fort Wayne, and Chicago. There was also the Lake Erie, Alliance, and Wheeling Railroad that ran south out of Phalanx Mills west of Warren, all the way to Dillonvale, approximately 6 miles west of the Ohio River, passing through Alliance. The old C&P and PFW&C lines would be leased out by, and eventually acquired by, the Pennsylvania Railroad in the late 1860s, early 1870s. Meanwhile, the LEA&W would be acquired by New York Central as their Alliance branch, eventually being abandoned by Conrail in 1976. Unfortunately, all of the track was either abandoned or ripped up after that point. The 2 Pennsylvania lines would ultimately fall into the hands of Norfolk Southern when Conrail became Conrail Shared Assets in 1999, and it has since stayed that way. Despite the old branch line being a foregone memory of the past, the railroad through here is still very active, seeing upwards of 60 trains per day on what is now Norfolk Southern's ex-C&P Cleveland line and ex-PFW&C Fort Wayne line. Alliance is situated at milepost RD 67 on the Cleveland line and milepost PC 83 on the Fort Wayne line. The Martin Luther King Jr. Viaduct stretches over the Junction, which itself is located on the northeast side of town. For many decades now, the preferred routing of trains through here has been not the track directly in front of us, but the 2 behind it, as it is the most direct of routings between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. On the eastern side of the junction lies the former Alliance Yard, which is now used as a running track to store bad order cars, stray power, and maintenance of way equipment like this ballast dumper and tamping machine. Across the right-of-way nestled within the control point is the Alliance Amtrak station, which serves Amtrak's Capital Limited train between Chicago and Washington, D.C., eastbound train 30 and westbound train 29. The tracks heading east out of Alliance, where our camera was just facing, is the Fort Wayne line, passing through towns such as Sebring, Beloit, Salem, Leetonia, Columbiana, East Palestine, and on into Pennsylvania and eventually Conway. Heading north is the Cleveland line, passing through Atwater, Rootstown, Ravenna, Hudson, Macedonia, Northfield, Bedford, Maple Heights, and into Cleveland. South is also the Cleveland line, though if you're anything and anyone but a track chart or a timetable, you'd probably refer to it as the Bayard line or Bayard Secondary, as it travels through the interchange with Ohio at Bayard, Ohio. In the days of the C&P, this used to be the default routing for trains between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. However, due to height clearance issues, tight curves, gradients, and low speeds, this would be changed when Conrail came along. In this day and age, it's used for heavier trains with low clearance, and also some key trains, though that depends on crew availability. Additionally, it handles everything going to and from Mingo Junction, south of Steubenville on the Ohio River. I eventually want to do a documentary on it someday. Lastly, headed west is the Fort Wayne line, via Canton, Orrville, Worcester, Mansfield, and Crestline. There's 3 wayside defect detectors within the vicinity of Alliance. Sebring at PC 79.8, Lemaville at RD 70.9, and Homeworth at RD 64.2 on the Bayard.
Norfolk Southern milepost 79.8. Track 2, no defects.
That's the Sebring detector going off, indicating that there's a westbound approaching on track 2. It ends up being NS13N out of Conway for Elkhart, Indiana, today with a UP Gevo trailing second in line. A war-torn BNSF-9 trails second on westbound Maritime Train 269, just a few minutes behind the 13N.
Clear CP Alliance, west, main 2.
There's approximately 20 grade crossings scattered in all directions throughout the city of Alliance, and Norfolk Southern honks at 'em all, so you'll definitely know far ahead of time when a train is coming through town. Combine that with the defect detectors and you have even more advanced notice of a train's presence.
Norfolk Southern, milepost 70.9. Track 2, no defects.
Up next is a westbound hotshot out of Croxton, New Jersey for 47th Street, Chicago. If you guessed 23G, you'd be correct. In a few minutes, he'll meet an even hotter shot train heading east out of Chicago's 63rd Street for Bayview Yard in Baltimore, Maryland. If you guessed 28V, you'd be correct again. Good job. After 28V, I drifted off to the east side of the junction at Mahoning Avenue to see if there was any more westbounds coming, and indeed the light on track 2 was a high green, a clear. For some reason, I thought I could get as far east as Sebring in time for this westbound, but as one could predict based on that statement alone, I was far off. The second I turned onto Alliance Sebring Road, there he was, westbound 11Q. I did not catch his power, but what I did see was his mid-train DPU, a KCS Southern Bell SD70 Ace. By this point, my buddy Daniel Joseph was situated in Alliance and was watching this train pass by as I got to the crossing here at Patterson Road as I made my way back to town. In his words, the DPU was, quote, smoking more than a public school restroom at the time it was passing him. Ultimately, the 11Q's PTC would shoot itself at about 102 in Macedonia, where Cleveland East would instruct them to run manually the rest of the way to Cleveland. Back at Mahoning Avenue, both signals on the east side are lit up for 2 more westbounds. Track 2 on the right is another high green, while Track 1 on the left is a red over flashing green. This is called a limited clear, and it tells trains to proceed not exceeding limited speed over turnouts, crossovers, and switches, and in no case faster than 40 miles per hour. This indication is for the train that I have affectionately nicknamed the Chattanooga Choo-Choo. NS-171, daily manifest for DeButt's Yard in Chattanooga, Tennessee out of Conway, today with an Ace leader followed by a UP Lightning Bolt Gevo. Me and Daniel repositioned our cameras right next to the diamond to get a good shot of the train slamming over it. Instead of curving off to our left onto the Cleveland line, the train stays straight at the switch and crosses over the diamond. So why is he getting a limited aspect if he's not taking the diverging route? In ex-Conrail signal territory, any indication with the words limited, medium, slow, and in most cases restricting 9 times out of 10 mean that the train is set to diverge onto another track. The 171 here is actually doing that, just not in the place that you think. Immediately after the diamond, the line splits right back into 2 tracks as it heads west towards Canton. The Cleveland East dispatcher had lined the 171 onto the number 2 track for easy access into Canton Yard to do its work there. Thus, the need for limited speed. If the train was going any faster, it would likely jump the tracks, and that would be quite poopy, if you will.
That's shocking. Time of the switch. Yeah.
After 171, the other westbound shows up. It's NS17Q, another manifest out of Conway, this time from Mormon Yard in Bellevue. At Bellevue, the symbol changes to 17N and runs all the way to Belt Railway of Chicago's massive clearing yard in Illinois.
Captain American outfit running around the parking lot. If you guys want, the dad calls you. By my side of the marker, Tom, I'm going in. Alright, you two, you're just going by me now? Good bye, officer. Have a good one, guys.
As the butt end of 17Q clears the junction, the 22X shows up, with nothing out of the ordinary for power. Okay, I still have my hair, we're good. That played out nicely.
I kinda wish that 22X went by as 17Q was going by, but I'll take what I can get.
Nah.
At least I got both of them.
Yeah.
I wonder where that 68D is at.
It should terminate in Toledo. Twinsburg. Go up the Crown at 102. Yeah. If it were 68A, it'd come down here. Hot behind, as usual, is NS28M for Morrisville out of Chicago's 63rd Street, today running with an open-door policy. sprayed rain in my face.
Open me door!
Dang it, you beat me to it again.
Just faster.
I have asthma, okay? Shut.
Open manure!
Open in your.
Open manure!
I managed to squeeze in a Dairy Queen run just seconds before this here 10Q showed up. The reason why Dan came out here was not for this 10Q, but for the two trains that are behind it. The first one is a loaded sand train, NS60R for Reading, Pennsylvania, with an increasingly rare Kansas City Southern Gray Ghost painted AC-44 trailing third, followed by a 268, which spent the last few hours dwelling in Rockport because it either didn't have a crew or didn't have PTC. Regardless, it had NS 1073, the Penn Central Heritage Unit, trailing second. I don't exactly remember why the 60R was running east on 2, but regardless, he had to cross over onto Main 1 here because yet another westbound was sitting idle just out of view around that corner, awaiting the clear ahead to go west. It's empty ethanol train 65K. You can just barely see his low beams reflecting off of those 2 bay hoppers there.
Okay, clear line, 2 west. Limited clear, line 20 south.
The presence of blue hour is beginning to make itself known through a sky still remnant of an overcast day. At 5:30, it's been nearly 7 hours since I first arrived here. However, the great variety of trains that pass through here in that time frame has certainly been worth my while. We're well into sundown, but I decide to stick it out for one more westbound that I just barely heard over the radio last minute. And with that, I leave you with 25G. Thanks for watching, and good night.